I have no idea. Anyway, sorry, I never am professional or prepared for anything, but thank you guys so much for coming on on my show. I am a little out of it right now, not for any reason, just because I'm really excited to talk to you guys because
that's mind-boggling to me. That's truly
and
mind-boggling.
And just the fact that you said re-listening, that's not healthy. No one should do that.
Yeah. And you should know, like, to get Rob to talk, you don't have to tell him that you want to listen to him. He'll talk to you either way.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's not a bad quality. I'm a voracious talker myself. We visited our family when I was in Florida, and one of the things that my mom brought up on the drive home was like, "You were really talking up a storm back there." It's like, "Thank you, Mom. That makes me feel a lot better."
Oh, so you're to blame for what's happening in Florida right now.
Yeah, you're why my conference got canceled. It's your fault.
I mean, to be perfectly fair, did you want to go to a conference in Florida?
I'll go to the beach for a few days. That's fine with me.
I mean,
I was kind of excited to go.
Florida and Arizona is God's greatest creations and his worst people.
That is true, because I will say where we were, it was this tiny little town called Port St. Joe. It's the kind of place where it takes, in order to serve 2 brown people, it takes the duration of 3 white orders to finish it. And you get to watch that happen right in front of you. It's great. And we went souvenir shopping in the next town, and there was a sign that I've only seen in textbooks. It said, "Do you speak English? Thank a soldier."
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah, Florida is fucking wild. And I hope it just gets flooded and the Gators reclaim it.
Honestly, I'd be down for that.
Man, Rob, I came close to just putting Crawl into my basket online and buying it. Kind of fucking sucker.
I bought a kilt today, so I am also a sucker for buying things online. Do I need one? No. I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do with it.
So you came close, or you bought it?
I did buy it. It's a pink kilt because I have no self-control whatsoever. Sorry, I just remembered that we're actually here to talk about Titanic-related things. But
I don't know.
I
mean, I feel like you're going to be disappointed by our Titanic knowledge.
I don't think so.
I feel like we're going to be exposed as frauds here.
Yeah, because I've listened to a couple episodes, probably 3 or 4, full all the way through. That. And like, you have the Titanic heads on, where like you will talk to people and be like, "Oh yeah, April is a month of like mourning, and we all have rituals and whatnot." And
I don't.
Well, yeah, but we bring a very unique angle to this because no one has taken longer to watch Titanic than we did.
That's true.
It took a few months to watch it, 1 minute at a time. Rob?
Yeah. I mean, we spent longer talking about it than people spent on the actual ship.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, I think it's like 80 hours edited. I mean, there's stuff that wasn't even included to be cut out.
Yeah. When you factor in all the like, Meek's technical issues, we easily capped that 4 or 5 days there.
Like, we'll just stick to that. Like, if you've got a question about Titanic the movie, we're your people. We don't particularly like it that much. Well, I guess we kind of like it. It did break my brain talking about the movie. And this is literally the first time I've thought about that movie or that event since we finished. So it's actually kind of nice to go back.
Hey guys, are you ready to go back to Titanic?
We've got to go back.
Well, so I listened to a bit of, I have not gone all the way through, but I was listening to a free podcast, which always gets that circus theme stuck in my head, and I cannot get it out for like 3 goddamn days. Just walking around my house like, do, 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 do. Everyone's like, Jesus.
Thank you, General Cinema's Midwest movie jingle from the early 90s.
It's very unique. But on your Magic Mike episode, you guys actually mentioned something along the lines of like, we spent so goddamn long on Titanic and I don't remember that movie at all. And I remember thinking, perfect.
Right.
Because I think that makes for a better discussion.
I don't know what came up, but someone, I think in like real life, Titanic came up, and I was trying to reference. I now know, but I was trying to reference Fabrizio, and for the life of me, I couldn't think of his name. I was like, the guy, the Jack's friend,
he talks like Mario.
Yeah, and I couldn't think of what it was, and I was like, how did I forget that?
It's kind of like the more times you complete a task, the less you remember of each individual moment. Like, how many stories do you guys remember about you brushing your teeth, for example? You know, so we've just recorded so many episodes, like,
I mean,
done it so many times, it's just all gone.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I haven't watched the movie since we stopped production in 2018.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
so
well, Rob's a sicko and said he was going to watch it again. Did you do that?
No, I was going to, but I didn't.
I'm on record. I still think that movie slaps. It's good.
I did too.
I think it's a great movie. It has flaws.
I think
got some good
I think I'm saving it up for the re-release in January. Originally, Cameron was going to put it out next year.
I think it's coming out on Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah, baby.
What the latest thing said.
Or around Valentine's Day.
Something like that.
That man knows how to make money.
Oh, yeah.
He knows how to spend it, too.
He knows how to spend it and make it, and I am with you guys. I still don't fucking get Avatar. It's been, I don't know how many years since it came out. I didn't get it when it came out. It gave me a headache when it came out, but that's, I think, more to do with the fact that I tried to watch a 3D movie with a migraine, which is like, I think that's my fault. But
I know Rob's been Cameron pilled. Rob's all in on Avatar.
Oh, I went and rewatched it. I went to the theater last week with my son, took him to see Avatar in 3D, and it was super fun. I mean, honestly, though, we talked about this before. Like, that is a movie where there's probably a bigger difference than any other movie made between the experience in the theater for sitting at home and watching.
Oh man, watching it at home, you're like, what
Awful.
is this? Yeah.
I had a friend came over from out of town, and I was like, let's watch, like, come over, have pizza, and watch a movie. And the movie she picked was Avatar, and I don't know if it's possible to melt into your carpet out of disappointment, but I think there's still part of me back in that apartment because I was so mad at that idea. I was like, you came all the way from Ohio to watch Avatar. Great.
It's going to be the winter of Cameron. He's just going to be everywhere. I'm surprised he hasn't traded up for a new wife.
It's been a while since he did the exchange.
I know.
Yeah.
I wonder what he's waiting for.
Probably another big hit.
Yeah.
He's all in on producing these sequels. Like, he
hasn't had time
for a relationship right now.
Yeah.
He's way too sucked into Blue Cats and the whatever the fuck they're up to these days. Swimming underwater.
He's learning the way of water.
He's been busy trying to drown Kate Winslet again.
He might succeed. It seems like he might have gone a little off the rails since then. I wonder if his writing's improved at all. Like,
no, there's no way.
I was going to say it's been a while.
He was interviewed like last week, I think, and he talked about the writing process for the sequels. And he had a group of writers helping him, and he would not let them start writing the sequel until they all figured out what made the first one successful. So he made them all like break down the story and dig down to the granular level of what made Avatar special. And it wasn't the writing big guy, so I don't know having them waste their time.
I do love that asshole Cameron is back, because he was, for a while, I feel like he was doing a little image rehabilitation. Like we said, he was stuck with the same wife for a little while, and I think he was trying to appear more as like a wholesome dude, but now he's doing the, hey, you fuckos, I built this studio.
I like it too.
It's like, you know all that stuff around here, that's Titanic money, bitch.
I mean, when you have two of the three biggest movies ever made, you can you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And it's literally the last two you made. It's literally the last two movies you made.
The only two things you've done in 30 years are the two biggest of the last 30 years.
Yeah.
This would have probably been at the beginning of this year when I was doing a little research into starting my own Titanic podcast because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't directly stepping on somebody else's toes.
Right.
Not that there can't be more than one of something, but it's like if someone's doing the exact same premise that I want to do, we're going to have to adjust our expectations of it.
I mean, there's a German Titanic Minute. I haven't checked up on it in a long time.
I forgot about that.
I'm going to look that up.
No clue how they're doing, but there is a German Titanic Minute.
I haven't seen that film yet because I'm saving that to watch with a friend of mine for my podcast at this point. But I do want to watch it.
Wait.
The 1943.
It's the
Nazi Titanic.
It's the Nazi. It's
right,
the Nazi
but this
Titanic.
is them talking about James Cameron's Titanic. They're just German, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Last
I don't speak German.
Neither do we.
Du hast mich.
It's more than I know. Fun fact: footage from the Nazi Titanic movie was actually featured in A Night to Remember.
Which I think is a fantastic fact.
The Germans, they knew how to make movies, knew how to make that propaganda.
So a year ago you found it, or earlier this year.
Earlier this year, and I listened to a bunch of Titanic podcasts kind of at the time. I listened to a few episodes of most of them to kind of get a feel, but I didn't stick with most of them. And I mean, my plan was kind of not to stick with most of them, but you guys were just so goddamn funny. And there's a lot of podcasts that I've listened to where, you get a group, especially when you start adding in more than 2 to 3 hosts, it can get a little weird, especially if not everyone gets along or
right.
There's just someone who's like doesn't quite jive with the group. Because I've listened to a few episodes of 4 people and it's like, this is the world's most boring conversation. I don't understand why anyone listens to this. But I think because you guys were such good friends beforehand and you've done some work together, it was just a delight to sink into. And I have depression and it can get pretty bad. And when I have depression, I tend to listen to the podcast My Dad Wrote a Porno. It's a great podcast. It's so good. It's also a group of 3 very charismatic friends. And there's something about that vibe that I really like. I think it makes you feel like you're in a room of people without the practical downside of being in a room of people. So I really like the show and I just kept listening. And my mom also really likes the show. We ended up kind of binging it on the drive from Texas to Maryland. And I was listening to it when I was visiting my family and I kind of had the phone in my pocket and I didn't know anybody else was home. And this was the episode. This was the Meeks episode. No, this was the White Wine Tom episode.
White Wine Tom, yeah.
Yes, with the etymology of boxes. And I didn't realize my mom was in the room until I heard her inhaling after having silent laughed for like 30 seconds. So we just started listening together at that point.
Is that when I claimed there was no white wine in movies before that took place before
Yes,
Thunder or something?
This is also where the Monkeys and Tails came out, and I think I cried laughing.
Yeah.
Where you found out you'd been using that expression wrong for forever.
Related. When I found out, I don't know if I said this on a podcast yet. So I grew up in northern Wisconsin, and I do not like bats. I'm afraid of bats.
Fair.
And so since I was a kid, if I went outside, and even as like an adult, if I did something where I was outside in like a wooded area, I would always wear a hat because I was told that bats at night will fly in and they'll get in your hair. And so I was like, well, I can't have that. I actually have like a decent amount of hair. I don't want a bat flying into it. And so I was hanging out with some friends, including White Wine Tom, among some others. And I point out like, well, you should wear a hat when you go outside. I think we're talking about Joe and Duff. I think we're talking about Theater in the Woods when you go outside and you can see like a Shakespeare play outside in the woods. I'd always wear a hat.
State Forest to have that, I think.
Yeah, I always wear a hat because there's bats at night. And I mentioned
you still believed this like recently?
Yeah, until like earlier this summer, maybe spring, and I said this and they were like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "The bats will fly in your hair and you should wear a hat." And then I googled it because they're like, "That's not true." And I was like, "Of course it is." And I googled it and it was a wives' tale that people told their daughters so that they wouldn't go out at night and meet men.
It was like a Puritan way to trick people.
You in the year 2022.
Yeah,
you were still falling for the line they used to keep 15-year-olds from going into the barn with the stable boy.
Yes.
in 1780.
38 years old, and I finally learned, like, no, that's not true. They don't fly into your hair.
That was actually a huge controversy. Wasn't that a huge part of that case, that the big true crime case about the staircase, where they were saying that an owl flew in at her and that's why she fell down the stair? Am I making this up? I'm probably.
Boy, I saw the staircase when it originally aired. I don't remember.
Yeah,
it's a very long time ago.
That's a hilarious lie, though. If you killed somebody, it's just like you're not. It's like. Yeah. It's like weird enough where like someone would be like, well, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd freak out if an owl was flying at me.
I would also freak out if an owl was flying at me.
I'm imagining like, you know, Matlock up there. Like, I'm no big city lawyer, but I know if an owl flew in, I might lose my footing.
I want to go back to Rob here, actually. So, how many times in your life did you think, like, you're going to go outside and you're like, wait, I should go get my hat. There's probably bats out right now. How many times did that thought go into your head in your life?
Like, okay, so like, let's say I was going outside for a couple minutes, it wouldn't be the case. But like, if I was going in theater in the woods,
were you like ready? Like, sorry, I know people at home can't see us. Were you like ready to cover your head if you went out to like take the garbage out or something?
No, that short amount of time I wouldn't do it. But if I was at like theater in the woods for sure, anything like that, it was like, I mean, I'm wearing a hat because the bats will fly around.
I'm imagining a fall bonfire and Rob just sitting there in a ski mask so that bats can't.
He's got like a welding helmet on. What if they miss my hair and hit me in the face?
Not to lend any credence in either direction, but I did quickly Google the staircase and an owl. It's just TLDR. It says, Pollard says what might have happened is that either the owl got into the Peterson house, got spooked by Kathleen walking into the bedroom, attacked her, and caused her to fall down the stairs. So that's one theory.
Remarkable. That's a theory. Yeah.
It is definitely a theory.
How I have not seen the staircase, but how many times has an owl just flown into someone's house? Does that happen?
I thought they were supposed to be smart.
Yeah, like, bats. I mean, I've experienced a bat in a house before. It's terrifying. They get into places, but an owl,
terrifying.
Oh, it's terrifying. When you're afraid of bats.
I mean, it's bats and squirrels when they get in your house is just a roller coaster of franticness.
Because they just freak out immediately, and then you freak out, which makes them freak out even more. Yeah. And it's good for everyone involved.
You want to help them, so you just start screaming at them to settle down.
No, the way to handle a bat is a tennis racket, because with all the little things,
man, they're dying. Like, bat populations are plummeting.
Whatever. If you get a good backhand.
What do you mean, whatever?
If you get a good... They got in the house, man. They broke the rule first, buddy. I didn't invite them in. If they're
not vampires, do you think do you think they have to follow vampire rules?
No, but if you have a tennis racket or like a badminton racket, something like that, it works really well because their sonar can't pick it up. Because of the holes, and you can just knock them right over.
I don't think you're credible in this area.
I'm telling you, keep a tennis racket if you have bat problems.
Joe, I have a vampire story.
Or if you play tennis, yeah, you have a vampire story. Is this true?
Unfortunately, this is a true story.
Okay.
My freshman year in college, I went to a very small school in Pennsylvania called Susquehanna University. It's
Transylvania.
It feels a bit like that. But it was in the middle of nowhere, and it was close to the middle of nowhere. It was like you drove 30 minutes to get to Kmart. That was an exciting day if you had a car.
Mm-hmm.
And this may come as a surprise as someone who grew up to have a Titanic podcast, but I didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't have really any friends. But there was one guy who was nice to me in that way where he was like, that's the weird girl on the floor, but I'll just be nice to her, which was fine. But his girlfriend apparently didn't like this, which I didn't know about until I received an email from the guidance department saying he would like to talk to me. And I was very surprised because I kept to myself.
Right.
But I went to this, thing, and I sit down, and it feels a bit like I'm being examined by a jury because it's me and probably 6 adults I've never met.
What?
And yes, it felt very insane. And they say to me, It has come to our attention that some students here believe that you may be a vampire.
Wow. I don't know how does one respond to such an accusation?
Well, I actually asked my academic advisor how to respond, and she said, I don't know, perhaps with a sense of humor. And for the rest of, I ended up transferring at the end of the year because it wasn't just this one person. This rumor pervasively spread, and instead of just being a silly thing people giggled at, they took it pretty seriously and would actively avoid me. And
could you manipulate the professors? Because honestly, this number one is insane, but two, yes. Like, I'm very jealous. Like,
did you grow up in Salem in 1690?
Like, because it feels that way, doesn't it?
So I mean, did you immediately just say like, well, let's get out a mirror or let's go outside? Or, I mean,
that didn't seem to have any bearing because again, this was a dorm, so it had a shared bathroom. They had to see me brush my teeth like in the mirror. I had to walk to class in the sunlight. But I remember I went to go to get Chinese food, so I was gone for about 45 minutes. I come back to my dorm and everyone in the hallway is clustered around my dorm door. And my first thought is that my roommate is inside and she's like passed out and they can't get in or like there's an emergency. So I come running up. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? What's going on? What can I do? And they look at me in surprise and go, oh, you're there. You're here. And like, I'm here. What's going on? What can I do? We thought you went to go kill yourself. And then the crowd just dissipates.
Wow.
So that's how I was treated as a vampire.
That's tough.
In Pennsylvania in 2008 or no?
Wow.
I don't know if they've improved their vampire protocol since then. I have not gone back to visit.
I believe I was looking it up. Students are required to wear garlic.
Now?
Yeah. That's one of the changes they made.
It's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah. Just to be safe, you know?
In case I come back. I mean, though, to be fair, I think they should probably just carry tennis rackets around then, Rob.
Was this a Twilight thing? This was around peak Twilight.
This was around Twilight. I don't know, but I will say that the girl who started the rumor did have a poster of the Lost Boys in her dorm. So...
Motherfucker watching Lost Boys. Reservoir Dogs reference for you guys out there.
Speaking of references in movies that I don't understand, a while ago I asked you guys to come up with a list of movies that you think that I should have seen. Yes. Because if anything, I have realized over the course of the past year, I have not seen nearly as movies as I thought I have.
Okay.
I'm very bad with
well, if you're judging if you're judging by us, that's you're talking to like 3 shut-in film major types.
I mean, I am also a shut-in, but of a different sort.
Of a vampire sort.
Mm-hmm.
Shh! Don't confirm the rumors are true.
Well, I came up with a whole angle for this that might be different for your show.
Okay.
So I don't know if you wanted each of us to come up with a list or we're supposed to do it together.
Yeah,
I have a list.
And I don't know, are we just going around one by one or giving a list all at once?
I think one by one.
Okay. I didn't
That's
think
more
the
fun
game all the way through.
Yeah.
Because I think the thing I struggle on this is like, what's a classic? Right?
It's a varied definition. I think what we decided in the email was like, we're all millennials. It's like stuff that we should probably recognize.
So do you want to tell people who are listening to this what our job was as homework for this episode?
No, I just want them to guess. Yeah. Okay. So I asked each of these guys to pick 5 movies that they think someone in my age bracket, which is a millennial, should have seen by this point in their life. Because I realized I like movies, I love movies, but I really haven't seen.
I mean, it was you specifically. We're supposed to to pick out 5 movies that we thought you had seen or guessed you had seen.
I'll start.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Night of the Living Dead.
No.
It's pretty.
I have not seen that.
That's a classic, though, right? And we're not going to disagree on that.
Yeah, no, I recognize it for sure. I'd say that's classic. I should have seen it.
All right, I'll go next. Twilight.
That I have seen.
Wow.
Shocking, right?
going a totally different angle than I went on this.
Well, part of
I
me
love
is
it.
cheating.
You-
Part of me
you
is
did
cheating
see
because I
the
listened to the
vampire movie.
podcast.
Curious.
Mm.
So the angle I went with was movies that I thought pretty much everyone around our age would have seen in school. So I tried to think of movies I was confident that one of your teachers who didn't feel like working that day would have shown.
Teacher hungover day.
I think this is a good angle.
Okay, so I'm gonna go. I tried to hit different subjects. So let's go. What's first period here? Let's start with history class.
All right.
Have you seen Glory?
No.
I also haven't seen Glory.
You never watched, had a teacher show that to you in school either?
No, we didn't have VHS or DVD players.
You didn't have a reel-to-reel of that?
Yeah, they just had overheads.
There just weren't TVs in that state by that point.
Joe,
Wait, are you for real that your school didn't have VCRs?
They did. Because remember I told the story about the time we had a substitute. We convinced her in our Spanish class. We went to the video rental store and we rented Eyes Wide Shut in English. We watched it. She was a very old retiree, and I don't think she ever taught again. There were complaints.
I like.
You don't say.
I like the logic though, Joe, because that was a classic '90s teacher needs to take a nap movie day.
Absolutely. It's actually a pretty good. At least I've liked it back then. I don't know how it holds up, but
Is that the kind of movie that they would allow to be shown in a Catholic school?
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's funny that you ask that because it was used in schools so often that they had a special edited version for schools that you could buy. Because I remember seeing that on my teacher's VHS box that it was like the school edition.
The one they just removed all the black people on that one.
Yeah.
It's just Matthew Broderick walking around by himself and yelling in the air.
My kind of film.
Boy, God, man, I feel
pretty surprised by that. Okay.
I feel stupid because like what I did is I tried to take multiple movies from multiple decades, starting with the 40s.
There's no bad logic here.
No, I didn't give any parameters at all. So,
all right,
this is on me.
Okay, so I went with the 60s already. If Night of the Living Dead, I'm gonna go in the 40s. Fantasia.
Yes, I have seen Fantasia.
See, there you go. You got the first win here, Rob.
No,
Twilight was a first.
Twilight.
Not Twilight.
But I didn't think autobiographies counted. So
yeah, exactly.
I really fucked up that word, didn't I? Jesus. Sorry.
Okay, Duff.
I'm up. Showgirls.
Ooh.
I have seen Showgirls.
What is this list? You have to.
Do you know what this? I told you. Do you know what this list is? Is that I listened to the pod. I listened to Titanic Talkline.
Okay, and they talked about Showgirls.
There was a reference to Showgirls. I don't know.
Showgirls is my favorite horrible movie. I like to torture people with that movie who don't really know what it's about. I'm like, have you seen Showgirls?
Do you have the VH1 version where they airbrush bras on?
No, but that reminds me of watching Flashdance, the TV version. I think that they did some overdubbing, and I think the line in the original version was supposed to be like, "Yeah, I fucked his brains out," but in the made-for-TV version, what happens is she goes, "Yeah, we made mad, passionate love."
Wow, those are two very different things.
Yeah, completely different. I had no idea what they were talking about. It was still to this day, I don't know what they were thinking. What were they talking about? You have to ask my mom. Oh. Sorry. Joe.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, this one I'll be stunned if you haven't seen this one, either through school or just life. Okay. Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, Romeo plus Juliet.
Yeah, the Baz. I was going to go with the older version with the boobs.
The one with
shot.
Boobs,
I know you're a little younger than us, so I'm assuming by the time you were in high school, the teachers would have moved on to the Leo version.
I have not seen that.
Wow.
I know that surprises.
Good soundtrack.
Wasn't that if you were a girl in the 90s? Wasn't that a requirement?
You'd think it would be, but I was a lunatic then and am a lunatic now. So I didn't really have any normal romantic feelings towards anything when I was a kid. And I think that kind of bypassed me. I ended up seeing Titanic because it was such a big phenomenon that I just bothered my mom. Because like, everyone's seeing this movie, so if I don't see it, I'm not going to be cool. I was never cool anyway, but just would have really knocked it down.
I mean, look at us. But
yeah.
But when you saw Leo in Titanic, that didn't like kind of did that spark something to want to see more of him?
Not
Like,
really.
I
I thought he was
obviously.
cute. I did.
You're
think
probably
he was-
around the age he likes still at that point.
At that point, I would have been within his age bracket. Now, no, I'm an old bitch. I am 8 years out of his age bracket at this point in time, that's fine. That's normal.
Right.
It's a very normal thing to do.
Okay, so I'm 0 for 2.
Remember when the studio had to actually issue a press release saying that he was not raped by a bear in The Revenant because Matt Drudge or some online lunatic like that basically said like, yeah, he gets fucked by a bear, and then it just took off. And so 20th Century Fox on their official letterhead was like, we'd just like to clarify, Leonardo DiCaprio's character is not raped by a bear.
That sounds
And
like
then he
the
won an
Richard
Oscar.
Gere and the hamster thing.
Oh yeah, that's true though.
He's never publicly denied that.
Yeah.
It's true, but in the same way that it just kind of like took off.
Right.
But yeah,
Richard Gere, confirm or deny?
We talked about that on our Pretty Woman episode, didn't we? That was a Patreon episode, I think, right? Maybe I don't know.
Maybe I don't know. But yeah, we talked about
deep
the
dived
Richard
it.
Gere
I have to sign
gerbil
up for
thing.
that.
So okay, I'm gonna go with a Midnight Boy beloved movie that I believe
Okay.
gets referenced multiple times during Titanic Minute. Speed.
No.
Oh, so sad in my heart.
I know.
I can see the visual disappointment. I'm laughing because otherwise I'm going to cry too.
Here's the thing about it: if the bus slows down
Below 55.
it blows up.
Yeah, or 50. I think it's 50.
50. Yeah, I think it's 50.
Yeah.
What's fun is I didn't
Anyone
even know
should
the
know
premise
it's
of the
right.
movie, so that's good to know. I'm very disconnected.
So
I'm learning.
this is where now I think I'm out of things I learned from the podcast. So I feel like I know Rob hasn't seen this, but I feel like pretty much every girl or woman I know has seen Sound of Music.
I have seen The Sound of. It's one of my grandmother's favorite movies, so I've seen that. I've been taken to a dinner theater to see that more than once.
And dinner theater.
It was fun. I've been to 2 dinner theaters in my life. One was that, and one was some weird biblical musical that I remember nothing about, except that it was a biblical musical.
I've been to dinner theater once or twice because we have the Chanhassen dinner theater. It's kind of depressing.
I absolutely have never been to a dinner theater. It sounds bad.
It's
Not great.
Yeah, it's like subpar food and maybe an okay show.
That's the thing, is that like if you have a good cast, it's a good show. But again, this is kind of like community theater level where maybe you get a Prodigy once in a while.
Yeah.
Here's the thing I have with it. You don't do this by yourself, right? You go with a group of people or someone. Generally.
Kind of weird to go by yourself, yeah.
Okay, but see, I would argue going by yourself is the only way it makes sense. Because if I'm going to go to dinner with people I like to spend time with, I'd like to talk to them. I don't want to like sit there and watch like some second-rate show happening and like whisper.
That's not your idea of a good time?
No. As we mentioned earlier, as Joe says, I like to talk.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, though, that The Sound of Music in particular is a very interesting dinner theater thing to attend because, again, there's a lot of songs and there are a lot of songs involving a lot of people. So there is a lot of, not audience participation, but they're just very close to you.
I would be pissed off if I went dinner theater or regular theater. If I went and people started singing, I would be pissed off. That is not appropriate.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if you're at dinner and the Holocaust occurs, also seems like a bummer.
I mean,
I feel like one of those is more likely to happen than the other. But like,
wasn't that what Sound of Music takes? That's a World War II
I mean,
thing?
it's not. It's like leading up to World War II. There's nothing about the Holocaust.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to explain. I'm not going to explain. Go watch Sound of Music. Just cross that off your list.
Okay. Will do.
It's like
Before or after I watch Glory, the teacher's cut.
watch them simultaneously and see how much you absorb.
There we go. All right, Joe, what do you have? Is this you? Is it Joe now?
It is Joe. We are on Joe.
All right. Let's stick with English class.
Okay.
Your teacher's on paternity leave, so they're gone for a while. We need more movies. Dead Poets Society.
Oh,
I have
good
seen
pick.
that.
Okay. My first, yes.
It has been a while since I've seen it. I remember liking it. I remember it being good. I just haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while for me as well.
Yeah, that whole inspirational teacher subgenre is I had like 5 different ones, but I thought that was the one you'd most likely had seen.
They stopped making those after School of Rock, didn't they?
I can't think. Wow.
They may have done a bunch of made-for-TV ones.
I mean, he wasn't so much an inspirational teacher.
He was a teacher who inspired the kids.
Well, but like the whole thing in that movie is he's kind of a loser who's just scamming his way to.
Right. But like,
he turns out to inspire them.
I mean, he inspires them and he learns a lesson. And I mean, that movie's awesome. I'm thinking of like Stand and Deliver,
which I thought was about an OBGYN.
You've had that. How long?
Pre-Louis.
How long have you had that saved up?
When about 5 seconds ago, and then you started saying Stand and Deliver, and I was like, "Oh, I'm ready for it." Load it up.
All right. Because I just put that on a T-ball stand, and you were ready for it.
Yeah, I was ready for it. Yeah,
I guess you're right. Like pretty much, like the culture just got a lot more cynical, and pretty much everything involving teachers since then have been like.
Since you became a teacher, really, Joe?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like comedies about teachers who don't give a shit, right? Like,
like
wasn't there literally a movie called Bad Teacher or something like that?
There's Bad Teacher.
Oh yeah, with Cameron.
And then there's that show AP Bio.
And there's Kindergarten Teacher. Isn't that about Maggie Gyllenhaal like abducts a kid because he's so smart or something weird, some weird thriller?
I don't know that one.
I'm not familiar.
I think I missed that one as well.
Maybe I'm confusing that with sex.
Am I part of the moral majority now that I think the reason we have so many school shootings is we don't have wholesome teacher movies?
I mean, hey, it's worth discussing.
No, that's a problem worth discussing.
I mean, you could probably make a graph.
We didn't have school shootings when Michelle Pfeiffer was sitting backwards in a chair talking about how Bob Dylan was the original rap star.
That's right.
Or whatever.
And also, I don't know if you know this news, but R.I.P. Coolio related.
Yeah.
What?
He died,
today.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
I'm sorry, Duff.
I'm gonna need a second.
Well, I think it's Rob's turn anyway, so we can give you a moment to get your thoughts together.
All right. So I've gotten the 40s. I got the 60s. I've got the 90s. Let's go 80s here. I'm going to let you choose the genre here. Do we want action or comedy?
I think I'm more likely to have seen a comedy from that.
Raising Arizona.
I have not seen Raising Arizona.
Okay.
And for the longest time, I got it confused with that TV show Raising Hope, and then I felt really stupid when someone had to tell me that they were very separate things.
They're different.
I'd like to see a crossover, though. Okay.
Well, I mean, they all are always looking for new ideas, Netflix and all those people looking for something to churn out.
They sure are.
Everyone needs content.
It's true.
Feed that content machine.
Duff, are you back together? Should we skip you while you?
All right. I'm processing the news about Coolio.
Yeah.
So let's go with The Breakfast Club.
Ooh.
Okay. I have not seen The Breakfast
Club. Oh, I was 3 for 3. All right.
That's one of those movies where it's in my mind, in everyone else's mind, it is an indisputed classic, and for some reason, I have not.
3 for 4, Duff. You forget Twilight.
I don't. 3 for. I mean, it's a movie that I feel like most people have seen. I don't. I mean, it is quote unquote classic. A big lesson of the movie is weird, geeky goth girls. You should just put on some makeup and be prettier, so guys will like you. So I don't.
I think that was every rom-com in the aughts.
I mean, it was too. It was. I feel like that was a big part of John Hughes, but I mean, I'm not a big John Hughes guy, and I feel like that's kind of the way the the world has turned now, but it for our age range, I feel like it's very popular.
Yeah,
That's true.
His movies about adults have aged better than his movies about kids.
Exactly.
Teenagers.
didn't he direct Baby's Day Out?
He did.
How's that one aged?
He's got bills to pay. He had bills to pay, man.
We've all done stuff we are not proud of for money.
We have a Patreon at patreon.com/the Midnight Boys. I'll just throw that out there. Related.
Always throw it out there. Anything you need to promote. Make money.
All right, Joe. What part of the day are we at now?
All right. Now it is May. No, it's late May. Your U.S. history teacher's behind. You finally got to the 60s and 70s, and they know there's no way they're going to get through. So they're going to sum up the 70s with one movie, All the President's Men.
Oh.
No. I know that movie exists. I've never seen it.
Were you shown that in school, Joe?
I know we saw parts of it for sure.
Wow.
We were shown Deep Throat, but not that movie in our school.
Yeah, you'd probably talk to Sub into it.
Much like that.
What other violently inappropriate films have you taught?
No, I never convinced anyone to do Deep Throat. Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh.
Did for sure happen though. It did. That
You're
one.
just watching.
Happened.
You're sitting there in Spanish class.
Yeah, we got Hardee's.
Watching an orgy scene.
Yeah. And
did you have to walk to your next class with a textbook over your pants?
Yeah. We're all the
bunch of guys had their hoodies tied on their arm backwards.
Everyone
I just put the Hardee's bag over it.
Everyone was just
until I had softies.
Just a bunch of just a bunch of greasy dicked high school kids trying to all horned up because Rob tricked the substitute.
I don't think I was the only one who tricked. I was part of a group who was persuasive.
Can you imagine being a senior in high school and some guy just coming up to you say, "Hey, do you like Hardee's?" as like a pickup line? Like it's just
There's a crumpled, slightly damp Hardee's bag.
Just it smells like chicken tenders or something.
Crisco burger, baby.
Oh boy, yeah.
Whew, all right. Well, I still have one more left for later, and it is a movie that I feel like everyone saw in school, and in hindsight, it's inexplicable.
Man,
I
never got to watch All the President's Men in school. I'm jealous.
I never got to have Hardee's in school. I'm also jealous of that.
Yeah. Do you know there's this? I was just looking at the Hardee's menu, and there's a sandwich called the Big Hardy, and that's really funny. This, like,
so what do they call it in Carl's Jr. country?
I don't know. I've never gone to a Carl's Jr.
It's called the Hot Carl.
I would not care for that.
Well, speak for yourself.
I'm not shaming. I'm just saying.
Are we over to me? I think.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a more recent movie.
Okay.
A movie that I love and I did not expect to love, and I've since probably one of my most watched movies rewatched movies in the last 5 years.
Is it Avatar?
No. La La Land.
I have seen La La Land.
Okay. All right.
I have seen that one. I have only seen it one time, but I have seen it. I liked it.
Yeah. Charming good-looking leads go a long ways.
I do like
Titanic, to be honest.
Rob likes movies where good-looking people fuck.
They don't have sex in that movie.
It's implied. I only saw it once.
Not really.
I mean, it's a Hollywood film featuring a straight couple. It's kind of implied that they fuck.
Well, I mean, I guess, but
this is a concept of existence.
Good-looking couples on screen, I'm all in. They don't have to have sex.
You also like a meet cute, and that has like the first hour of that is like one long meet cute.
Yeah, like a good meet cute. Yeah, true. All right, so you've seen 2 of the 5 I asked. 3 of them you had not. for the record.
Awesome.
All right, 3 out of 4. Ooh, all right. All right, I'm gonna Legally Blonde.
I love Legally Blonde.
Oh, 4 out of 5.
Legally Blonde is such a charming movie.
Wait, she's seen 4 of the 5 you've asked? Oh, your numbers are all mixed up, Duff. She's seen 3 of the 5. No, 2 of the 5.
No, she's seen
Twilight.
Legally Blonde.
Yeah.
Showgirls.
Oh, Showgirls. Okay, 3.
And what was the other one? Oh, okay, 3 of the 5. All right.
Okay.
Still a winning percentage.
Yes, thank you.
Yay. Joe, you got the last one.
I do. And when I thought of this one, I was like, I didn't just see this once. I was shown this multiple times between middle school and high school.
Okay.
And so I feel like if I had to watch it 2 or 3 times in school, you must have had to watch it once. Although you might be just a little too young for it. So maybe they gave up on this one. We're going for the inspirational film. Are you ready to be inspired?
Okay, I'm ready.
Rudy.
I genuinely cannot remember if I've seen Rudy or not. So I'm just going to be safe and say I don't think I've seen that one.
Did you watch a movie about a small person who ended up becoming a con artist, the real life Rudy, who desperately wanted to play football for Notre Dame?
I like how you say small person, like it's like a little person.
For a college football player, he's small. That's the whole point of Rudy.
Tyrion Lannister out there.
He's like a.
I was like picturing like Peter Dinklage.
It's not Peter Dinklage. Yeah, it's Sean Astin. He's small.
Yeah, but
he played a hobbit. Very different visual. I'm sorry.
He played a hobbit.
He did.
I mean, he's 5'6". That is small. That's too small, I would argue.
Yeah, fit to play Notre Dame?
To just be a person.
You know what?
Just be a
I don't remember if it was Titanic where we talked about what an utter fraud Rudy is. Because
I think it might have been Forrest Gump.
Oh, man, just fuck Rudy. Like Rudy is the poster child for just a middle or mediocre white guy failing upward. Like, just all he did was show up. That's all he did. Just show up enough.
He couldn't take a hint.
Yeah. Someone gave him a pity play, and then he turned that into a lifetime lucrative speaking engagement until he got busted by the SEC for, what was it, like some type of Powerade drink type scam.
What? I didn't know this.
He was investigated by the Securities and Exchange Commission for lying about supplements or something like that.
Sweet. The alternate ending.
The alternate ending you want to talk about. Here's the thing. I will find this and I will send it for you to listen to if you like. We did a Titanic rap party.
You did, and I'm mad that I found out about this whole thing 4 years.
Yeah, I mean,
too fucking late. I would have
4 years too late. We talked about the alternate ending. One of the people there did record it. We had discussed putting it out as an episode. Ultimately, we did not. But I will gladly share the MP3 of that to you for your own enjoyment if you'd like.
I'll listen to it.
Okay.
I would love that because the alternate ending is truthfully, in my opinion, one of the worst things ever filmed.
It's real bad.
Yeah.
It's awful.
It is.
It is so bad.
It's like he hired people. It's like he hired vaudeville style actors and it was like, make a really incredible face, and then told the actors on set,
basically indulges all of Cameron's worst writing tendencies, which is like, again, like I just made a joke about, like, he's not big on ambiguity, and it's just you don't always need to have an aha moment, James Cameron. It's okay that Bill Paxton doesn't know what happened to the diamond. Because the whole point of the Bill Paxton Brock, that's his name, Brock Lovett.
Brock Lovett.
Yeah.
Or leave
Brock Lovett or leave it, is that Brock learns, it's the really hacky cliched, it's like, I never really got what Titanic was about, and the diamonds don't matter. And then he was going to have an ending where they're literally about to run down an old lady so that they can get the diamond. It's just so clunky and
also
awful.
The movie's at its worst when it's not when it's at present day. Like the beginning present day is fine because ultimately you're setting up like, why are we hearing this story, right? So you weaken at Bernie's old rose so she can like tell her little story.
In theory, it's an okay framing device,
right? And that's fine. And then you get like the exposition of like, here's what happened to the ship and it broke up, and then Harry Knowles tells the story, and then. And then you fall into this entire world, and one of the things the movie does outside of like I guess I should know this. How many times do we break back into present day? Once, twice, once. It's
2 or 3.
It's not much.
I mean, there's once where she talks about how it was so erotic and how horned up she was.
Right. Yeah.
I think that I think that the present day scenes work really well for literal children. And I say that because I was a literal children when I saw this movie. I was 8 when it came out, and I saw this in the theaters. And at that time in my life, anything that was like older than 10 years was 100 years ago. Like any point in history ambiguously took place in the past somewhere. So watching Titanic and having that tie together was important.
So as a starting device, it works really well. And I think you're right. It also like frames it in a way that all of a sudden you're back, and there's sort of that moment when they're boarding the Titanic, and it's like a wow moment in the movie, right? You see the ship, it looks incredible. And by the time, we watch Jack die and this whole thing, you're like so into it that when you come back into the present, you're like, oh, this again? And so the least amount of time spent with Brock and old Rose, the better. And so like having Brock try to stop Rose from throwing the dime, it's stupid. Who cares? Nobody cares.
I like everyone's over the top reactions after she throws it too. I think that like Lewis looks like he's trying to be both the tragedy and the comedy symbol from the
Jesus
Christ.
Masks. Lewis is still one of the just dumbest characters ever created.
Also, if he saw her throw it, he would have been able to track it down. They've got everything they need.
Yeah.
Right? He'd be able to be like, oh, boy, okay, well, she threw it here. Here were the conditions. We'll find it. But the fact that she throws it without anyone seeing it means he won't be able to find it.
Lewis would have ran immediately to the submersible like, we're getting that motherfucker right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, there's no way he could dive under after it. He wouldn't be able to not float.
Yeah. So, he
had so much Hardee's.
Hardee's! Oh, boy. Big Hardy.
Yeah, it's a bad scene. And on like you said, one of the worst scenes I've ever seen in a proposed big budget movie.
I think it's just interesting to me that it got filmed.
Yeah,
they filmed it. They filmed and they produced it. They got far enough in the process before someone was like, James.
I mean, to go back, like James Cameron was coming off of Terminator 2 and True Lies. Like no one was going to tell him what to do.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
And still no one's going to tell him what to do.
No.
Avatar is Jesus.
Yeah. No, I
still can't believe they're going to make... How many total are they making?
13.
They're going to be Land Before Times eventually.
I don't actually know.
He's doing
I
2
thought
and
it
3.
was 3 more, but it might be 4 more.
He's alluded to that it depends. I think it's 2 and 3 for sure. And then he said it depends on how those do. And he's also said that maybe he'll have to hand off the mantle to someone else, kind of like they're doing with Indiana Jones now that James Mangold's going to direct the next one.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's not a young dude. He's got to be pushing 70.
Right.
I think so. It's about time for him to find another wife. Maybe then he'll gain some youth back.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's pretty healthy. I think he's vegan and doesn't do any stimulants or anything. But I mean, he and
I don't have that in common.
He spent 15 years making one movie. Like he's got to pick up the pace.
Yeah.
He's taking about as long as he is to make movies as I do writing the hypothetical novel I've been talking about since I was, I don't know, fucking 10.
Well,
what's the novel about?
It's it's a fantasy world that's going through a period of war, because I kind of wanted to explore that concept. I don't have enough going on in my life already. I need to do other weird shit.
I mean, you're talking to people who did a minute-by-minute podcast of Titanic, so...
Yeah.
You also did Minute by Minute of Forrest Gump, which I have started listening to, and one episode you guys said that you were hoping that someone would experience Forrest Gump through your podcast. Well, I have seen Forrest Gump, but it's been an incredibly long time, so I kind of am experiencing the movie through your podcast.
It's bad.
It's kind of stunning to go back and watch it and be like, oh, like, this is real? Like, they made this and people liked it?
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing it, and I think maybe I was just too young when I saw it.
It's kind of, but it's the same thing as Titanic, where it's such a cultural force. Where after a while, it's like, oh, you haven't seen Forrest Gump.
The difference is like what we learned when we did this podcast, which I think we had some understanding of, but not really. Is like the Titanic fans are out there, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Whereas like there aren't any like Forrest Gump fans.
It's all
there are people who like Forrest Gump.
Well, it's all boomers and they don't know how to use podcasts.
That's true too. That's true too. But it is definitely a difference.
But yeah,
I have a question for you three.
Sure.
And this might end up being like all immediate yeses or something. But if you had a chance to go down and see the Titanic, would you do it, or would you be too scared to be that far below the sea?
I'm not going down there.
No way. I'm not going down.
You wouldn't go?
No, I did an interview that's not out yet with David Concannon, who's one of the guys who has, with the Ocean Gate exploration, gone down there. Okay. And after talking to him, it was like, that's enough stories. I'm good. Because he talked about just like, number one, it's 2.5 hours down. That's 2.5 hours to think about the sheer absurdity of what the fuck you are doing, descending 2 miles to the bottom of the sea. And then once you're down there, I think he also made a point that it's like Titanic takes away from you more than it gives to you. And I think that's a really valid point about
for most people, to be honest.
For most people who have been to Titanic, you would absolutely be correct.
Yeah.
And I think he has a valid point, because I think it's the same kind of concept as like, I've been to Dachau when I was in Germany, and it's not the kind of place you go. Yeah, you don't go and come away going,
Sound of Music.
Refreshing. It's not that sort of experience. So I can see where you go down to Titanic. It's dark, it's scary, and then it's just the sight of 1,500 people's death. And
just like that mammoth ship, just the sheer size of it. Like
that's scary.
It's spooky
to me.
I mean, again, one of the things I still think is great about the movie, especially in a big screen, is that the underwater footage is fucking spooky as hell. It is. Yeah, I'd like to say that I'd be a yes, but just again, like, Rob knows about this because he has a hearing condition, and I've had to, do a hearing test where you get into a thing that is kind of like a coffin, and that takes like 5 minutes, and I started to freak out. And I
hate hearing tests.
And I'm trying to imagine doing that, number one, for 2.5 hours just to get there. And then when you get there, it's just a dark ghost ship, and you have 2.5 hours to go back up. I could not do it.
I think just the ear pressure alone, I couldn't do it. I'd be like, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of swallowing.
There's not enough Xanax and marijuana.
So I don't have to ask if you're a spit or swallower. We know now.
Not enough Xanax and marijuana on Earth for me to go down. Also, we haven't not even touching on there's sea monsters down there. It's terrifying.
That's a good point.
Yeah, good point.
Well, I wouldn't even hesitate before I said yes. I would absolutely do it. Absolutely. The ghostly, like, I think it'd be like scary in a thrilling and awesome way. But I'm a little sub boy.
You are a little sub boy. That's true.
Yeah, you do love the subs.
Jesus.
Yeah. I realized that wasn't elegantly phrased, but it's fine.
No, I think it was phrased perfectly.
Yeah. Take me down. Take me to the Titanic, Daddy. Daddy, take me down.
Daddy Cameron.
Are we at the bottom?
I would absolutely call him Daddy the whole
That's a
time.
rule we should make. If anyone meets James Cameron, you just got to call him Daddy. I love Titanic, Daddy.
I'll do it. I'm never going to be allowed within 100 feet of that man now.
I'm 99% sure that Daddy gave me my first R-rated movie. I think Aliens was the first rated R movie I saw.
Oh, thank you, Daddy.
Thank you, Daddy. Thank you for the xenomorphs, Daddy.
God bless.
Teaching the benefit of a double jaw early. Got it.
Oh, boy.
Oh. Yeah.
I do have a Titanic question for you guys, especially now that it has been a while since you've seen the movie.
Yeah.
I think the big joke is like, when did you let it in? But I'll tell you, for me and my Titanic story when I'm done, when it kind of like became real for me. But when did that happen for you guys? Was that something that had happened when you watched the movie before you did the podcast, or not? I guess it really depends on how many times you've seen it beforehand.
I think it's a movie where I think I feel like I'm the only one of the three of us that actually by the end of the whole thing, I kind of liked it more. Like, I think I had let it more in. This process sort of forced it out of me a little bit. I always enjoyed it. But this was definitely, like, by the end, I think was probably at the peak of my, I don't know if fandom would be the right word, but appreciation of Titanic.
I think I'm there with you. I would say it's like a 4.5 out of 5-star movie.
Yeah,
I think the only, like, I understand criticisms of the, generic Romeo and Juliet dialogue. I think the biggest drawbacks for me are what we talked about, is the present day stuff. But I don't know. I was very familiar with it even before the podcast, so you
were the biggest fan coming in, for sure, right?
I knew it a lot. I think I saw it 3.5 times in the theater, because once I was on a trip with my parents, and I was like, it was like my dad was traveling for a convention thing, and we went along, and so it was kind of a vacation / business trip, and they're like, all right, you're on your own for the afternoon. And I went to go see Scream 2, and Scream 2 is only like 90 minutes. I'm like, well, I have like an hour and a half to film. I'm like, oh, all right, I'll go sneak in the second half of Titanic.
That's cool.
It works.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is old school spectacle. Like, it is, it's just pure craftsmanship. I think the effects hold up really well. I think I especially as time goes on, I appreciate how earnest and unironic it is. I think that's the biggest thing, especially as time goes on, and everything, especially in the age where everything's a goddamn superhero movie. Everything is just the, Joss Whedon quip, ironic dialogue.
Yeah.
And, this harkens back to, even at the time it was kind of square, but it's refreshing almost now.
Yeah. I don't think I appreciated enough at the time we were making it. Because I think the downfall in quality of movies of that scale, like, it's not like we even really recorded that show all that long ago, but it feels like even in the last 4 years, the movies that are being made are just getting so lazy that are trying to achieve the spectacle, like at the scale that Titanic does. Like, now when like we've got even just TV shows that they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on, and like the boats moving through a water looked like something from a PC game from like 1999.
Yeah.
And
I think
Dune
might be the last movie that came out in round since we started that podcast and ended it, that like looks great visually and is like a big box, like a big blockbuster type movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, probably that's probably the one. But yeah, I agree with that. And there's been a lot written about how, since Disney just bought everything up and just churned stuff out, that no one has any time to make things look good.
Yeah. And I would also say that I probably didn't appreciate enough at the time, like James Cameron as a writer and sort of as a storyteller, it can be sometimes be a little simplistic and within the case of dialogue, kind of childish at times. And I probably didn't at the time appreciate it enough that the effort that he put in. Like I say, I'd rather watch a good movie with bad politics than a bad movie with good politics. But James Cameron does like genuinely make an effort and to like include like in the case of Titanic, like making a very class conscious disaster movie in a country that very actively tries not to be class conscious is a noble thing to do, especially when you get into the 21st century and basically the only way you can get over $200 million to make a movie is if you get like the seal of approval from the Pentagon and the Department of Defense. Then that lets you make Top Gun Maverick or a Marvel movie or something like that.
I watched.
He's the only guy that's doing it.
When I rewatched Avatar last week with my son and White Wine Tom, oddly enough, and we had an Avatar episode where I think I said this, but like even more so now. Say what you want about Avatar. There's plenty of criticisms, and most of them are fair. The fact is, the biggest movie ever made, box office wise, is clearly, because it's not subtle, it's James Cameron, is anti-Iraq war and pro environment.
Yeah.
And that is, to Joe's point, you don't really see stuff like that because it just doesn't. There's just, I don't know. I don't think it's the case there's not an appetite for it. I just don't think there's the money for it.
It's impossible to get the money if you're going to do that.
I also don't think everyone has the privilege to be able to make a movie like that and brand it as such, because I think for many people, if they wanted to make a, say, pro-environment movie, they wouldn't be able to be like outrightly saying that. It'd have to be some sort of like background message to something, otherwise it would be branded as insert kind of film here or some sort of.
It is pretty wild how the bad guys of Avatar are the government and the military and corporations.
Yeah.
And it's not subtle either. No, I mean, again, it's James Cameron, but they may as well just be wearing star-spangled everything to put a cherry on it.
So the other thing I want to say about Cameron's Titanic, that as we get away from doing a minute-by-minute podcast about it, is that just kind of listening to Titanic talkline episodes and just kind of thinking about.
I can't believe you listen to more than one of those.
And well, I mean, you listen to our show, and there's 190 episodes of that, so that's.
I've listened to your show more than one time.
So with a lot of historical movies, the further away you get from it, it's like there's, and again, there's like a case by case basis where, it's like Lawrence of Arabia or something where it's still great, but the further you get away, it's like, well, they kind of fudge this or that. But like Titanic, it's really like Cameron really did his homework, and it, more or less, it seems very, very accurate, except for like maybe a couple small things. Like, and it's pretty wild how fanatical he went about that movie, and made 20th Century Fox send him like to the bottom of the sea. Like he would not do models or anything like that. He's like, nope, you're going to pay for me to go in a submersible.
Deal with it.
The other wild, this is not really connected to anything, but the other wild thing is that I feel like it wasn't even kind of public knowledge until the movie that the ship split in two. And I know that, the Titanic heads that kind of knew about that in the mid 80s onward, but like just the idea of that's like that ship cracked in half. That's wild.
It's still a bananas concept to entertain.
Just one thing kind of the spookiest thing I think about is like what it must have been like to see that from a lifeboat, where all of a sudden all the lights go out and you can just kind of see by the whatever moon and starlight there is, and it's just this giant ass ship,
I can tell you what it feels like for a lifeboat. Lucky.
Well, I mean, luck is graded. Luck is graded on a curve at that point. But yeah.
Rob would just be scrolling on his phone to see which restaurants were still delivering.
Yeah, can I get Uber Eats?
Will McDonald's deliver out here?
Let me check DoorDash.
But just to see, I mean, I don't know the specifics of how long the ship was. Just see something that at that time was the biggest ship in the world crack in two in front of you, and just hear people screaming as it went into the sea.
I wouldn't like
it.
That
It is
part.
an upsetting notion.
Yes. Do you think James Cameron would make a good Hindenburg movie? I think it would be awesome.
It's over too fast.
I think it would be super entertaining.
Yeah.
That was a very... I think I'm with Joe on this one. That's a really quick disaster.
Yeah.
What if Big Bird was on it? Are you in now?
Is this Sesame Scream too?
Sesame Scream.
Actually, that makes me think of an interesting what if. Like, would Apollo 13 have been better if James Cameron directed it?
Yes.
Instead of Ron Howard?
Then Ron Howard? Yeah, it would have been.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, Ron Howard's pretty trash, but Apollo 13 actually is pretty good.
It is.
I mean, I don't think it'd be any worse, but so this is something that I think was posted on the Dissolve a few years ago, is that they had a hypothetical, what if James Cameron did Jurassic Park? And I gotta say, I think it would be an improvement.
I don't think it would be.
No, because so much of what holds up with that is like the interaction between the characters and the people.
Yeah.
And I just don't think he has quite the touch for that part of it. But
yeah, I'm with Joe on that. Like,
I think he may have been able to improve a little bit on maybe like the visuals, or I mean, they're already really good.
Yeah.
But James Cameron does have a special touch with those things. I have to give him that. So I think maybe he could have found a way, or some kind of Cameron-y way, to like make it extra cooler. But I agree that I think a lot of the benefit is the interactions and the dialogue, and he just shouldn't be allowed near that.
And should he be allowed near children?
Great question.
Because there's.
I
guess we'll find out, because there's isn't one of the new avatars they have little avatar babies?
Kids,
in fairness, usually the worst part of any Cameron or Spielberg movie is if there's little kids. That's usually not the good stuff.
Yeah, but the kids are fine in Jurassic Park.
I do not care for them. They're very
they're
I'm just saying,
you don't have to care for them. They're
yeah.
Sam Neill's there to care for them. Laura Dern's there to care for them.
Yeah.
Not much Laura Dern isn't there for the care for them.
I have another Titanic question.
Okay.
This is going back to the scene where the Irish mom is putting her kids to bed before the water comes into the room.
Yeah, the Irish goodbye.
Irish goodbye. Immediately after the camera pans away, the humane thing for that mom to do would be to smother those children, right? Am I nuts? Because otherwise they're just about to be frozen and drowning in a room.
I mean,
they can't go swimming one more time.
I don't know if asphyxiation by smothering or water is.
Because if you're a parent,
one seems like it takes longer than the other.
Would you rather have your mom kill you or the ocean? I think I'd rather have the ocean do it.
He puts them to sleep.
I mean, I don't think the mother should have to kill her children on top of dying herself when the water.
I agree. I'm just wondering if that's the better solution than dealing with the screaming and flailing that is about to happen in about 20 seconds. I mean, because that to me seems worse.
So I think as a parent, the it's a hopeless situation. So she's trying to make it not scary for them.
Yeah.
Which is fine. That it's a whole nother step. If your brain thinks there's a 0.0001% chance that maybe they won't die, you don't suffocate them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't be the one that makes that decision.
That is true. I think that this is something that even occurred to me the first time I saw it, which I think should tell you a lot about what kind of human being I am. But it was upsetting to me because I was thinking, well, you're gonna hear the story and they're gonna go to sleep, and in 1 minute they're going to freak out.
Yeah, but maybe they're open mouth sleepers and they'll be real fast.
just take care of it by being a mouth breather.
Yeah.
Sleep apnea.
Yep.
I don't. Even as a kid, I was just like, I don't know. That seems like I think maybe it's because I'd read that drowning and freezing drowning seems like a worse way to go. I don't know.
Would you
Both
drown
of them seem
before
awful.
you froze? I don't think you'd have time to freeze.
Yeah, I think you would.
No, you would freeze, but you'd be very cold while you're drowning.
Right.
So it'd be a twofer.
But isn't that just like falling asleep ultimately? No, getting cold is like falling asleep. Drowning's bad.
Drowning is.
They say drowning's peaceful too.
Do they?
Well, once
Who?
once you're dead, I imagine.
The people that did it.
Mermaids.
Reporting back after a seance.
Mermen.
The merman.
No good choices there.
There aren't. There are not. I think, in my opinion, because I'm terrified of drowning, I was like, I think I'd rather someone just put me out of my misery before that could happen.
Yeah.
That might be just acting out of personal
preference. It seems like either way, things
are
going to be done relatively soon, so maybe spare yourself of actually murdering your children and let the ocean do it.
I don't know. Is that better or worse when you have to explain to whoever or whatever is in the afterlife, where they're like, well, I didn't want to kill them, so I just let nature do it. I was there, though.
Yeah, I think that one's easier to explain away than they'll be like, why did you suffocate your children?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, you were in Florida.
Putting it in Daddy's Poseidon's hands.
Yeah.
Wow.
Casey Anthony got away with it.
True.
Mm-hmm. She's
good.
Yeah, she's thriving now.
Living and thriving.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think that's just me being, like I said, absolutely terrified of the concept of drowning. I feel as though almost any other way of dying would be better than drowning.
I wouldn't want to burn. That's lower on my list.
Definitely worse.
Okay, that's fair. I just remembered that one of my least favorite scenes in a movie ever is from one of the Final Destination films where two girls are burned alive in tanning beds.
Because here's the difference. Here's how I know.
Yeah, those movies have the most insane deaths.
Here's how I know. If you were burning,
mm-hmm.
you were on fire, you would jump into the water.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were drowning, you wouldn't jump into a fire.
Well, you've got us there.
I don't have anything to say. You're right.
Where's the lie? Yeah.
Nowhere. I think this is once again just showing that I watch way too much true crime and don't spend enough time outdoors.
Yeah. You're just flailing around at a lake and someone's trying to throw you like a life preserver. Like, no! Light a fire!
Light a fire! I'll jump in the fire.
Otherwise, I'll drown. Evaporate the water. That's all that is. Guys, I think I've kept you for way longer than I should have, but I appreciate you coming on, dealing with my failing through an interview. But
oh, no worries. We're the ones. Trust me. I'm sure ultimately we're the ones that disappointed.
I'm just curious how you.
I think I was great. But...
I'm just curious. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we brought exactly as expected. I mean, you didn't do anything wrong at all. I'm just curious how you present this as an episode, because your other episodes, you've like semi-serious conversations with people and there's back and forth, and this is just our usual
lump cut it. You just gotta lump cut this.
This is
just
about
our 35-minute episode.
Our usual random stream of nonsense and whatever.
I think at this point what I should do is cut myself out of it, because I just air it as it is. But before I do let you go, I am going to get mildly mushy just because I would like to. But I think I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, for any listeners who don't know, that I have depression. And when I have depression, sometimes it keeps me from sleeping because my brain is just replaying every possible thing that could go wrong in my life. And
I have no idea what that's like.
Really? Oh my gosh. I envy you so.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, she's just like,
Duff and Joe are known to being incredible sleepers.
Yeah.
Well, that's the best time to think about everything that you did wrong.
Yes.
I'm going to make a little addition to that. It's the best time to think about things you did wrong 20 years ago.
Yeah. It's really good to go back to elementary school.
It's also a great time to just kind of turn around and around in your mind a problem that you can't control and can't solve. that's usually where answers come from.
That's the good sleep time.
Duff, to your point about things that I did 20 years ago that I randomly remembered the other day. I don't remember how old I was, but I was at the age where I was having trouble communicating with my parents because that's what you do. So what I decided
to yeah, I was saying that's a thing you grow out of.
Yeah,
I don't think so, but I think at some point in time you outgrow the phase in your life where your solution is to handwrite out the lyrics to Linkin Park's "Numb" and slip it under your parents' bedroom floor.
Oh my!
Oh no!
Oh.
So that's what's been keeping me up for a couple days.
That is an.
I don't think I've ever told that story before.
Yeah, the funny thing is they probably don't even remember it.
No, I don't think they have any clue. And I'm betting you when they saw it, they were just like, "The fuck is this?" and threw it away.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I was like, "They're gonna get it."
That is an extremely aughts thought right there.
That's
incredible. Not to date myself, but when I can't sleep, though, I tend to listen to My Dad Wrote a Porno because I've heard that one and it's predictable. So, I latch on to a predictable narrative and I go to sleep. But your podcast has been added to my I am depressed and I can't sleep playlist because now that I've listened to it once, it's really, really good background. It helps me latch on. Again, I latch on a familiar narrative. It's really fun and it's good. Usually wholesome interaction, but as someone who swears all the time and doesn't edit anything, I have zero problems with that. But it's a really, really fun time, and at least for me, it's like I genuinely laugh when I listen to it, which when you're depressed sometimes is not easy. So, like scream laughing at the concept of people discussing the etymology of a box is absolutely fantastic. I miss Sea Monster Facts. I love Wreck of the Week.
Wreck of the Week.
I can tap out of speakers kind of the same way that you can when you do Wreck of the Week. It's like, yep, I can do that too. But, there were things that I enjoyed, and I know that, it seems a little bit hacky when people do that, but it's like, I would like to thank you because I know that there's a lot of work and time that goes into making a podcast, and you made it. It is complete, and now people like me who are 4 years late to the party can listen to it and enjoy.
I mean, I appreciate that because it's one of those things where we did spend an inordinate amount of time on. And for whatever reason, people enjoy it and continue to enjoy it. You are not like the only person to discover it recently. I get emails when people sign up for Sinking Feeling, which was a newsletter our friend Caroline did every week. And like, there's still every month 1 or 2 people that sign up for that newsletter. And I'm always like, ain't no more emails.
Yeah. No more of these coming out.
Yeah, and like it's still so like people for whatever reason, people really like that show, and I think the reason isn't necessarily Titanic or anything. It's just that like Joe and Duff and I have known each other for so long, and ultimately the reason we did this was it was a reason for the three of us to schedule a time every single week to hang out virtually because we all live in different cities, and regardless of, and that's why we're still doing stuff because it's just guys don't do well with just like let's talk about how you're doing, but if you give us a task,
I'm fine.
We can do it.
Yeah, it's
can hang.
Being Midwestern, it's very uncomfortable for me to accept praise, but I
not me.
Well, yeah.
I don't know how you got that.
I do. It warms my shriveled up Grinch heart.
Cockles.
When we get, when we find out that we put something out there into the world that brings people a little bit of joy or happiness.
It does. And I mean, you're talking to someone who shat on their own podcast like 63 times over the course of the interviews. I mean, I also have a really hard time accepting praise as a concept, but I know it's an older podcast and it's finished and there's not, more coming out, which is disappointing, but it is, I think that what does make it, so quote unquote magical is that you can tell that you guys are great friends. And then, when you do rib each other, it is obviously not out of malintent.
Right.
Because, sometimes you listen to a podcast where someone thinks they're landing a joke and it's like, you just insulted that man's entire history, but good for you.
We edit those parts out.
Before the World War starting ones can come to air, you just snip them.
Yeah.
No, but it's really fun to listen. If no one on my show has listened to Titanic Minute, they should. And I'm currently making my way through Forrest Gump Minute. That stupid shrimp boat song gets stuck in my head every
I forgot about that song.
Oh,
that one's only 4 minutes at a time, so that's a lot easier to get through.
It is, but that shrimp boat song is. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm so mad at that song.
I never want to watch Forrest Gump again. I don't want to hear about Forrest Gump again. I don't know which episode it was where I just fully melted down and realized I do not like that movie.
The opposite of Titanic Minute, where you were more the Forrest Gump fan as well, and unlike Titanic, where you continue to enjoy it, you had a breaking point in Forrest Gump where you were like, "This is awful, and I don't ever want to talk about it again."
And which is ironic because we breezed through it 4 times faster. It was a shorter movie that we did 4 minutes at a time, and I don't ever want to think about Forrest Gump again. Whereas right now, after talking about, it, I'm like, man, I want to watch Titanic.
Right.
Well, I haven't reached Meltdown Minute in Forrest Gump yet, so I'll be sure to send you an email when I've reached it. But is there any? Did you guys have any last minute questions for me before I hit the stop button?
So obviously, maybe you don't know, but how many episodes are you going to do with Titanic Talk Line? Just keep going as long as there are people to talk about Titanic with?
Yeah, that's the plan. Or until I get bored. Whatever comes first, right?
Good on you. I was just curious because it's not really, with minute by minute, there's obviously an end point, or sometimes there are seasons of things, but hey, just keep talking to the Titanic heads until you run out of Titanic heads, which does not seem like it'll ever happen.
I have a question for you, and I'm going to ask it because the people who would care to know the answer probably won't hear this, but I'll know. Who is your favorite guest?
So far?
On Titanic Minute. Not on your show, because they'd hear it. I mean, on Titanic Minute.
Oh, on Titanic Minute. I think I'm partial to White Wine Tom, just because
Tom.
that box argument is genuinely one of the funniest things ever. And I think that was the episode where Joe melted down the loudest.
I'm going to have to go. I don't remember. I mean, I remember that kind of, but I'll have to refresh my memory.
It was also a good minute for him to have because that one happened during the first class dinner, so there was just a lot going on.
He was our fine dining expert, I believe, if I recall correctly.
I have that one saved in my little bookmark episodes if I ever am
I will let him know. I'm sure he will appreciate that.
Not to say that everyone else was bad.
You don't need to say anything. They're not. They won't know. You can.
Oh, good. They all sucked. Never. No, but no. That particular episode was just an absolute wild ride. It was an amazing wild ride. But before I let you guys go for reals, I know that you guys are doing a free podcast. Are you doing anything that's going to be coming out soon? Are you doing another minute by minute, or are you absolutely done with minute by minutes for the time being?
I think we're done with minute by minute.
I can't think of anything that would lure us back to minute by minute. It's an exhausting process.
It seems like.
Yeah, I mean, we record 5 episodes.
I can think of money. Money would get us to do
it. How much would James Cameron have to pay us to do Avatar Minute? How much would it take, Joe?
By his standards, not a lot.
Yeah,
that's true.
Or would he just have to record an intro?
I'm assuming someone's already done. Hasn't it already been done? I'm assuming someone has.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know.
Really?
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
Joe, would he have to pay you, or would him being an intro that said, "This is Daddy Cameron and this is Avatar Minute" be adequate compensation for you?
Yeah, that's plenty, more than enough.
We just call him Daddy the entire time.
Where are my subs at?
I'm never calling him James Cameron again. He's just Daddy now.
Yeah.
To me.
When Daddy made this movie.
I'm gonna try that next time I talk to LA and see what reaction I get.
So depending on when this airs, I mean, a free podcast has seasons coming out somewhat regularly. The season we're recording right now is movies directed by people who got their start on the Twilight Zone. But prior to that, we have
work sucks.
Tons of seasons. There's seasons about how work sucks, about movies.
Awful.
I know.
Movies featuring the internet, movies that came out in 1997.
All sorts of stuff. Yeah, we have quite a few. And we named the podcast a free podcast, which means when you search for it on your podcast catcher, you won't find it.
Yep.
So what you should do is go to freepodcast.com and then click on one of the links to subscribe because we screwed up. I screwed up is ultimately what happened.
Or maybe Alexia could link to it, and that would help people.
Or that.
I absolutely will. And what I did to find it was on my podcasting thing. I looked up Midnight.
Yep, that's the other way to
get
to
all of your podcasts.
Yeah, but now that's been stolen.
By the Ringer guys, yeah.
Hey, as long as people keep accidentally subscribing to us and giving us money, like that one person.
Yeah, one person said I was looking for the other one, but found you guys. I listened to both now. I was like, oh, good for you.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you for sharing
we
that
were
with
first.
Me, random stranger.
Well,
awesome.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for reaching out. And, I'm glad, you can carry the Titanic podcast thing torch forward.
Yeah.
I am doing my best.
It was a lot of fun. And Rob, what do you always say about fun?
The best part about fun is how much fun it is.
You guys, that was so much fun. I had an amazing time doing that interview, and if you want to get in touch with the Midnight Boys, you totally should. The first place I think that you should start would be their Patreon, which is patreon.com/themidnightboys, all one word. You can also find their work specifically at afreepodcast.com and titanicminute.com. That's websites for each podcast. You can also find Titanic Minute on Facebook. It is facebook.com/titanicminute. They also have Twitter, twitter.com/titanicmidnight. They have a group on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/Titanic Minute Steerage, all one word. And you can also find them on Instagram for their universal account, and that is instagram.com/midnightboyspod. That is Midnight Boys Pod, MIDNIGHTBOYSPOD on Instagram. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I had an amazing time talking to them. Please follow them on their socials. Also be sure to subscribe to their shows, give them 5-star ratings, sign up for their Patreons, and be sure, Patreon, they have one, and be sure to sign up to receive notifications from, I think, their website. Should have that info on it. And you should also follow my show on all the socials and send me an email if you want to get in touch. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!